Welcome to episode 7 of the AskDAP show, where we answer your VW and Audi questions. Let's get into today's questions.
David H. via email says, I've just started making my own repairs on an 06 Jetta 2.5 Auto with 150,000 miles. I've replaced the CAT, MAF, O2 sensor, vapor canister, purge solenoid, and the in-tank fuel pump. YouTube videos have saved me thousands. I've gotten rid of all the engine codes related to the parts above, and the engine is running much better, and the idle is now much smoother, but not quite perfect yet. After taking it for a test drive, the only code coming up now is a P0068, MAP/MAF throttle position correlation. After a bit of research, others have said that cleaning the throttle body fixed the problem for them. Is that a good place to start, and does the throttle body need to be aligned after performing the cleaning process? Any suggestions as to how to proceed correcting the code? The only other possible factor I can think of to mention is that there's a lot of noise coming from the engine compartment, rattles, and a sort of whistle when I accelerate. I thought it could be a belt, so I ordered both belts to be replaced, and it could be a vacuum leak sound, perhaps. Thanks for your assistance.
Okay, David, so on 2.5 Jettas, there are a few issues that might be pretty common. The one thing you want to make sure is we address the noise first, most likely because it could be causing other problems. So the noise sounds like it could be related to the PCV valve, which is part of the valve cover on the 2.5 engines. It is not a serviceable part. There is some aftermarket ones that you can replace just that diaphragm, but it's not really intended to be serviced. So VW has the entire valve cover replacement. We actually have a DIY video, which you can find here. And then we also have a write-up, which we'll put in the link in the description below. Now, if you're having an issue with the diaphragm and it's torn, it could be causing that issue with that whining noise under acceleration. Now, if you have the other noise you're referring to, I hope it's not timing chain related, but it could potentially be. So that might be something you want to look into to make sure that you don't have a problem where timing chain jumps and then it's going to cause catastrophic damage to the engine. Now, the fault code. Once you address that potential PCV valve problem, that fault code is something that you're going to look at next if it doesn't get resolved by looking at that diaphragm for the PCV valve. If it doesn't, you're going to want to start by cleaning the throttle body, and if it doesn't repair it by cleaning the throttle body, then you're either likely have something wrong with the mass airflow sensor, the MAP sensor, or the throttle body itself, one of those three. So you're going to have to really dig further into it and actually determine which one is actually the cause of the problem, because that fault code basically is saying the MAP sensor, mass airflow sensor, and throttle body are all saying different things. So it says correlation fault, which means basically the data they're getting from that are not lining up. So one of those three is going to be your issue.
Mike via email says, I have a 2010 CC with 120,000 miles on it. I just bought it about a month ago and do not know the history of the car. The dealership did do a carbon cleaning on the car. My question is, from reading about chain tensioners, I will assume that with 120,000 miles it's been replaced at some point. Is there any way to know for sure? Any signs that the cover has been removed before? Even then, how can I tell if it's been replaced with the latest design tensioner? Thanks.
Okay, Mike, so timing chain tensioners on TSI engines. I've heard some people mention that there is information out there where there's a database that lists the VIN ranges that are affected with the old tensioner and then shows you up to the new tensioner. We're not aware of that list. I've reached out to some people that we have connections with to verify that there wasn't any list. To the best of our knowledge, at this current time, there is no such list. The only way that we know of to actually verify you have the old tensioner would be to remove the cover, inspect it, see which one you have, and then replace it as needed. Now, the other variable to that is the cover, the lower timing chain cover, which is why we replace it in our timing chain tensioner kit. It's steel, and when you remove it, because it uses adhesive to seal it, it gets stuck on, so it will get bent often when you take it off. If you try to reuse that cover, it will likely leak. So that's something to just want to be considered. If you try to take that cover off and find out, oh hey, it's good, when you put it back on, it could potentially be a point where you're going to have a leak problem. So visual inspection is the only way on that one.
Seth via email says, "Hi, I was wondering if you could help me out. My girlfriend's 2007 GTI with the 2.0T FSI motor has been having some oil in the boost hose issues. One day she called me up and told me her car was smoking non-stop, so when we got home to check everything, I took off the intake side boost hose and a lot of oil came out. Now I've changed the rear PCV valve and the turbo with an OEM one, and we're still having the same issue. Oil building up in the boost hoses is then being sucked through the intake, creating the smoke. After I drain the boost hose, it's fine. Do you think it could be from the front PCV valve? I've changed it 2 years ago with one I got from Rock Auto, and it wasn't OEM. Any ideas? Thanks."
Okay, Seth, so boost hose, oil in boost hoses is pretty normal, standard. Now, if you're having such a big problem that it's causing burning oil or oil smoke coming out of the back of the car because it is burning oil, now you definitely have a problem. Now, I think you've gone through at least a few of the things that you're going to look at, which is most of the time when something like that happens, you either have a turbo problem or a PCV valve problem. Now, the fact you replaced the rear one, which is not as common to be a problem, and not the front one, you definitely should start by replacing the front one with an OEM one. Those were pretty problematic. They went through about 5 or 6 revisions of that FSI PCV valve, so aftermarket ones are probably a copy of the original one, so the quality of them is probably not going to be that great. So making sure you get the latest and greatest OEM one in that particular case is probably going to be the best thing to do. Now, if it isn't related to the PCV valve and it's not a turbo problem, then you possibly have something with like valve guide seals or other things that are much more complicated and have significant problems going on. So PCV valve will probably fix your issue, and if it doesn't, you're definitely going to need to get some more help. Thanks for watching episode 7 of the AskDAP show. Make sure to send us your VW and Audi questions, info@shopdap.com.